Hello fellow sim racers, and welcome to the first of 4 videos where I'm going to be taking a look at the cars featured in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I've broken the cars down into nationalities for no other reason than it made coming up with titles for the videos easier. Today's video takes a look at the British cars from Aston Martin, Mclaren and Bentley, though the latter's technically part of the Volkswagen Audi group, but let's not split hairs. Over the next few days, I'll be publishing videos that focus on the German, Japanese and of course the Italian GT3 cars that make up the grid for the Blancpain GT series, but for now, let's start by taking a look at the Aston Martin Vantage. Before I get into the details, a quick word about setups. As the game is so new, I've not really had time to look into how the cars behave with setup changes, so I'm comparing the cars based on the aggressive preset. The safe presets introduce a lot of understeer to keep things safe, and generally makes the cars feel a lot more muted. I mention this because it completely changes the feel of the cars and has a huge impact on the overall impression of both the car and the feel of ACC as a whole. Honestly, friends don't let friends drive the safe setup. The old Aston, as it's now become known, has been kicking around since 2012, and 2018 was this model's last year in the Blancpain GT series. Sadly, the new model does away with the much-loved 6-litre V12 in favour of a more on-trend twin-turbo V8. But enough about the new car. With that heavy engine hanging out the front, there's an unsurprising tendency to understeer, which has to be carefully managed through the turn-in and mid-corner phase. In Aston Martin sales literature, they claim the weight distribution of the car to be close to 50-50, but it sure doesn't feel like it here. That being said, once you've got the old girl into the apex, getting back on the loud pedal reveals great acceleration if you can stop the traction control from holding you back. All in all, the Aston isn't the most agile car, far from it, but what it lacks in refinement is compensated by some pretty impressive straight-line performance. For me, the absolute highlight of this car is the noise. This is an area that ACC absolutely nails. Internally, the nuances of the engine note, gear train and other systems sound very convincing. And externally, the gear train and diff whine give way to that familiar, glorious exhaust sound. If you're a fan of cars that traditionally come with a walnut dashboard, then Assetto Corsa Competizione has you covered. Twice in fact. The Bentley Continental appears twice in the game, with the 2013 and 2018 variants included, thanks to Team Parker Racing keeping the old model afloat during the 2018 campaign. And it's the old Bentley we're taking a look at first. Being a British car, ignoring the Volkswagen Audi bit for now, this is one of the few cars in ACC with the wheel on the starboard side, which I must admit is a bit disconcerting when swapping in and out of the other cars, but small grumbles aside, it's a beast. When the car was first released in build 0.2, I had this to say about it. You can wring this car by its neck, point the nose at the apex, use a little bit of brake to help rotation, and jump on the throttle, and it just does what it's told. It's not subtle, it's not clever, but it is big and I think pretty effective. And honestly, my opinion hasn't changed. For a big front-engine vessel, it's surprisingly balanced, arguably a bit floaty on turn-in, but you seem to be able to use the torque to keep everything buoyant mid to late corner. We saw a couple of Bentleys running at Monza in the SRO Esport GT series, and they seem to pretty much hold their own against the super-fast Lambos, though maybe just a shade off the ultimate pace. And finally, listen to that sound. So, if the old girl was a bit of a blunt instrument, then what of the new model? Well, the new Bentley does pretty much what you'd expect for a revised car. More weight savings and better distribution of what's left, coupled with better fuel consumption and improved aero, combined to provide a slightly more refined experience in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Honestly, if you like the old Bentley, then you'll probably like the new one as well. It takes everything that was good about the old boat and gives it a bit of spit polish. For me, this was one of the more immediate cars when I first drove Build 1, and the car felt very right straight out of the box. Like the 2013 model, it's surprisingly balanced for a car that, at least from the outside, looks like it's going to understeer right into the port. And for that reason, I think this is a pretty decent beginner's car, though I still think that the Ferrari 488 is the best in that regard. And to cap things off, here's what the battle barge sounds like. I'll come right out and say it, this is my favourite car in the game so far, though I may be a bit biased thanks to my proximity to Woking. That being said, while it may be my favourite, I don't think it's the quickest. Like a whole host of GT3 cars in 2018, the 650S was starting to feel a little old. Introduced in 2014 and up for replacement by the new 720S, I guess it's not old by any conventional standard, but McLaren do have a bit of a habit of releasing new models faster than you can spell the word depreciation. But none of that matters in racing sims, and the 650S we find ourselves with in Assetto Corsa Competizione is a real peach, and a wonderfully engaging driving experience. The car is decisive on corner entry, rotates well, but crucially, never feels like it's going to keep rotating on you, something that its predecessor in AC1 had a bit of a tendency to do, at least on the stock setup. And again, unlike the previous incarnation, this thing gobbles up curbs. The 650S feels like a mid-engine car should to me, and has just the right amount of slip through the corners to give an engaging driving experience while not feeling too on edge. And a last word on the McLaren. Internally, the car sounds very close to the onboards that I've been listening to, which is to say, not the most exciting GT3 car. And externally, it's still very accurate and not very exciting. So that about wraps things up for today. In tomorrow's video, I'll be taking a look at the Ferrari 488 and the 3 Lamborghinis in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be great if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this in the future. So all that's left to say is goodbye, thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.